In this repair video, we have a cassette roller shade with SoftTouch motorization that's already been removed from the window and is removed from any power source. To complete this repair, we will need a small flat blade screwdriver, a small Phillips screwdriver, a number 8x40 Torx driver, and a small rubber mallet. First, let's disconnect the SoftTouch wand from the arm. Next, we must carefully remove the headrail end cap to reveal the metal end plate. It may be necessary to move the headrail hard stop assembly to gain access. To remove the cap, we'll use a small flat blade screwdriver and small hammer to gently tap and pry the end cap away from the headrail. Take care to not bend the metal arm on the SoftTouch assembly during this process. These end caps are fastened tightly and the tabs can be easy to break, so take the necessary precautions. Now that our end cap is removed, we can see the metal end plate and two SoftTouch motor mounting screws here, with the 4 end cap screws here. First, we'll remove the 4 end cap screws using a number 1 Phillips screwdriver and put them aside for the reassembly process. The screws are small, so put them in a safe place. Once the end cap screws are removed, we can move to the idle end of our shade. Here's where we'll take the shade and roller tube out of the idle side and set our headrail aside. Keep track of the collar and spring assembly for later. Now that the headrail and fabric tube are separated, it's time to remove the 2 motor mounting screws from the metal end plate. Do this with a small Phillips screwdriver and set those screws aside for later. From here, we can now carefully remove the SoftTouch motor from the tube by sliding it out. Take care to not misplace the retaining collar, as it's critical to completing this repair. With the motor out, it's time to find our replacement and get it prepared for reinstallation. It's important to know that the SoftTouch motor and arm are ordered separately, and if you're reusing the existing arm, it must be removed from the old motor and secured to the new one before reinserting a new motor into the tube. To do this, we must align the 3 prongs on the arm with the motor and use a specialty T8x40 Torx driver to reinsert the screw through the arm and secure it to the motor housing. It's time to attach the metal end plate to the motor housing using 2 screws. Do this with a small Phillips screwdriver and make sure the end plate is positioned correctly, curved side facing the control arm and beveled screw holes facing outward. To reinsert a new motor, it doesn't matter which direction it's facing. You must align the grooves in the motor shaft and housing with the grooves in the roller tube, and also align the collar on the motor with the channels in the tube collar. Once aligned, the new motor should slide into the tube with very little resistance. If the motor is difficult to insert, you should remove it and check the alignment with the tube. If your shade was partially lowered during the motor replacement process, it's time to roll it up completely now. And now let's move to the opposite side, or idle end of our shade, and make some adjustments. We'll start by removing the idle end components to check the upper limit stop and make sure it's in the correct position. On larger shades, you may also find a spring assist attached to the end of the shaft. Inspect it to make sure the spring is not damaged before reinserting it. This shade does not have a spring assist, so we'll start by turning the off-white upper limit stop clockwise until it won't turn anymore. Then we'll back it off about 1/4 of a turn. During this adjustment, there is no need to adjust the clear plastic bottom limit here. With the shade in the fully rolled up position, it's time to align the grooves in the limit mechanism and outer collar with the grooves in the roller tube and begin reinserting the mechanism gently until fully seated. We will then reinstall the outer collar and spring assembly and finish preparing the tube for reinstallation. With the shade rolled up completely, reinsert the tube into the idle side of the headrail. Before installing the metal end plate, make sure the power cable is not pinched or kinked as it exits the bottom. Here's where we'll reinstall the metal end plate to the headrail using 4 screws. To perform this task, you'll need a small Phillips screwdriver. Now we'll need to reinstall the plastic end cap using a small rubber mallet, taking care to not break the prongs on the cap. Attaching the operating wand is optional at this point, or it can be packaged separately to prevent damage. And please remember, upon reinstallation, it's necessary to perform a recalibration to confirm the hard limit stops. Use the control arm to reset any electronic limits, and we'll refer to the installation instructions on exactly how to do this.